All right, hey everyone. My name is Jonathan Lipp, director of the Big Apple Film Festival, and welcome to our first ever live script reading. So thank you all for being here. And over there is Erica Rubin, as well, programmer. I'm super excited to present this to you tonight. So we're going to be reading excerpts of the winning scripts from our screenplay competition, as well as the finalists of our screenplay competition as well. So the scripts are Addicts by Maya Hinken, Indivisible Mom by Liana Rossman-Ho, No Place Like Nowhere by Ron Agozi, Steam by Robert Languedoc, Delusion by John So, From Here by James Sweeney, Float Me Up by Daniel Talbot, February by Petros Georgiadis, Wet Rock by Stuart Crick, 1717 Primrose by Brooks Hall, Planting Gaddy by John C. Wall, The Lesson by Kimberly Kalaja, Mono by Donald Ross, The Grand Dictator by Beth Raymond, Roman Candle by Derek Abbott, Just the Wind by Saul Barenbaum, Pieces or a West Hollywood Club Called Rage by Chris Phillips, Ellie by Becca E. Davis, Fakenham Hall by Yellow Douglas, In Love with Einstein by Linda Shane, Zodiac the Chosen by Soledad Lala, Alexa by Livier Foster, and The Errant Signal by Nick Theorin. So those are our winning scripts and finalist scripts, and they will be read by our amazing cast of Daniela Thome, Timothy J. Cox, Sierra Naomi, Johnny Weber, Sara Kiefer, Stephen Peacock Jacoby, Van Russell, and Maxwell Zener. Yeah. So they will read the title of the script, a little bit of a synopsis, and they'll give you a brief excerpt. So enjoy.
Okay. Alexa, written by Livier Foster. Synopsis is: a young adult struggling to make it in New York finds out his father has ALS and takes steps to make enough money to pay for treatments with his determined best friend who has Asperger's syndrome. Act 1. Interior, Kane's bedroom, Sky in Kane's apartment, day. Kane slowly sits up on his air mattress. He looks around and sees open suitcases scattered throughout the room. Sky walks in with 2 cups of coffee in his hand.
Here, coffee, drink it.
Kane takes a cup from Sky.
What's your plan for today?
I have a job interview later this afternoon. Before that, nothing.
A job interview? Doing what?
A reception gig for a research center at Columbia.
Ditch that shit.
What? Scott, we need to have money to pay rent. To stop sleeping on the floor?
Sky sighs.
What are you doing? I thought you had a fancy job by now after going to Harvard.
I got kicked out of Harvard. I did some shit, pissed people off, long story.
Shit. So what are you doing now?
Hey, you know there's apps where you do odd jobs for people? I started doing that. Met a guy, sort of, never seen his face, but he texts me an address, I deliver items for him, and he sends me payment. Simple, easy money. Come help me with a job tonight.
It's not a long-term solution.
I know that, but right now it works.
I'm going to tell you a story. A couple years ago, I was dating this chick, Alexa. I loved her more than I'd loved any girl. She was fun and made me forget about all the issues I've been having in my life. The fact is that she was the worst kind of person. And every time I tried to break up with her, she would get me to take her back just days later, like a fucking addiction. What I'm trying to say is that staying with her wasn't a long-term solution for my overall health. Kind of like how odd jobs aren't a solution for your money problems.
Sky nods.
See you at 9?
No. Are you even listening to me?
Kane sighs.
Sky, have you been taking your meds?
I'll text you the address.
Exterior, St. Mark's Place, Maggie's apartment, day. Sky walks up a set of steps. He presses a button, then releases it. A moment passes.
Who is it?
Sky presses another button.
It's Sky, following up on your air mattress offer.
He releases the button and subsequently, the buzzer sounds. Interior, Maggie's apartment, day. Maggie opens the door as Sky walks in.
I probably should have told you I was coming over.
No, it's fine.
Sky looks around. He sees various artwork placed throughout their living room.
As you can see, I do my work at home.
You're an artist. Nice.
Struggling to make it, artist, but I'll take it. If I don't sell a painting soon, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm trying not to make it look like my life sucks right now, but it does.
Sky focuses on artwork resting on a stand. Focus, it's many buildings with many taxi cabs, fancy cars, airplanes, and then a 4 subway train underground.
Your current project?
Yeah, it looks so. Well, what are your thoughts?
It looks busy, all over the place.
Maggie sighs.
Right. Screw it.
Maggie picks up the painting.
Maggie, what are you doing?
She looks back at Sky.
I'm gonna toss it.
Why? Busy is a good thing. This needs to be fleshed out. Put it back.
Maggie rests the painting back on the stand.
Add 2 men making out. A woman walking her baby on a leash. A man wearing a suit jumping off a building. A police officer shooting up a man who has his hands up.
You serious?
Hey, if it's gonna be busy, then you might as well go all the way.
Sky sees the air mattress and walks towards it as Maggie continues to stare at the painting. Sky picks up the air mattress and walks towards the door.
Thanks, Guy.
Try also adding an interracial couple in there. I think that works too.
Maggie smiles and nods.
Sure does.
Zodiac the Chosen by Soledad Lala. Synopsis. Mira, a Zodiac possessing the ability to wield and produce water, is a young black woman in hiding from the government who will stop at nothing to suppress and kill the Zodiac population. A black screen. The symbols of the 12 signs of the Western Zodiac roll into frame until they form a circle, starting with Aries and ending with Pisces. With the Aries symbol rolling in, we hear the voice of our protagonist, Mira, a young black girl, 18, slowly learning her place in the world.
Every year, 12 babies are born under each sign of the Zodiac. Each possess the ability to wield the element of their sign: fire, earth, air, and water.
As each element is mentioned, the corresponding signs glow. Blue for water, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Green for earth, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Purple for air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And red for fire, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius.
They lived peacefully with humans till human greed rose racial tensions to a boiling point, and a war ensued. Zodiacs were declared dangerous and unfit for society, and they were hunted and killed.
Slowly, the symbols begin to fade to black, till only the Pisces symbol is left in center screen.
Some managed to go into hiding, waiting to reclaim their freedom. I am a Zodiac in hiding. I didn't ask for this, but this fight is much bigger than myself.
Fade in, interior, Florida. South Seminole Hospital delivery room day. Lady Davis, a black woman in her mid-30s, is breathing heavily with beads of sweat dripping down her face. Her legs are hoisted up in stirrups. The doctor is between her legs wearing gloves.
Come on, Miss Davis. Your little girl's almost here.
The nurse grips Lainey's hand tighter, stroking the hair out of her face. Lainey gives one last push and yells out of pain.
And here she is. You did great for your first time, Lainey. Do you want to hold her?
Lainey nods with exhaustion and happiness. She puts her legs down and the doctor hands Lainey the baby. Her eyes fill with wonder. The baby begins to cry.
Oh, did I do something wrong?
No, you're doing just fine. This is completely normal. And now we know she's breathing just fine.
The doctor's pager rings.
I'm needed in an ICU. Congrats on the successful delivery.
The doctor leaves the room. The baby settles down and looks around the room in wonder.
You've got a cutie on your hands.
Yeah, she's looking like she'll be a heartbreaker.
The nurse laughs.
Have you thought of names?
I'm in between Annabelle and Mira.
The baby forms spit bubbles as the name Mira was said.
I think she likes the sound of that last one.
Is that right, little girl? Do you like the name Mira?
The baby, newly named Mira, bubbles out more spit from her mouth and babbles. Lainey laughs and grabs her cup of ice chips and swishes it around, looking unsatisfied.
What are the chances you could smuggle me a cup of Jell-O?
I think I can arrange that.
The nurse freezes as if she'd seen a ghost. Lainey gives the nurse a puzzled look and turns her attention to Mira. Her eyes and a Pisces symbol on her left wrist are glowing bright blue. Her hand is raised ever so slightly, and ice chips levitate out of the cup and float around the room.
Oh my God.
Mira feels tension in Lainey's arms, and her eyes turn back to a dark brown. The ice hits the ground with a crack. The symbol fades away and she starts to cry.
I have to report you.
They're going to take her away, aren't they?
The nurse swallows hard.
Once they remove her powers, she'll be given back to you.
The nurse is clearly flustered, unsure of what to say or do. She doesn't know what happens. No one does. Only rumors exist that nobody dares to challenge.
I think we both know that doesn't happen.
It's treason to question the council's decision. I shouldn't even be talking to you. I have to call this in.
The nurse reaches to grab a phone hanging on the wall.
Wait!
The nurse pauses.
They'll kill her. You know they will.
The nurse pauses, a political battle warring in her head.
Push me under the ground.
Lainey holds Mira close to her chest and gingerly slides off the table and onto her feet.
I'll wait 1 minute before pulling the alarm. Now come on, make it look good for the cameras.
Thank you.
Lainey shoves her into a metal service cart, and she falls with metal clanking around her. Lainey runs out of the room. The end.
In Love with Einstein by Linda Shane. Synopsis. A script based on the true story of Albert Einstein and his first wife, Mileva Merrick Einstein, and their stormy romance and intense scientific collaboration. Exterior Zurich Street, near the Polytechnic School, morning. 3 pair of men's black dress shoes and 1 pair of women's shoes walk toward camera. The middle men's pair is Albert's. He is not wearing socks. Luc Picard, 20s, and Friedrich Adler, 20s, friends and schoolmates, walk with Albert and Mileva. Luc is handsome with blue eyes. Friedrich is intense and wears wire-rimmed glasses. Albert is charmingly disheveled in his jacket and tie. Mileva wears a crisply ironed dress. All carry notebooks.
Luke, be a pal. Take notes for me during Minkowski's math class.
Again?
I want to finish reading Maxwell's new theory. It's cutting edge. He claims light and electricity are different aspects of the same phenomena. Can you imagine? And no one here even lectures on it.
So, are you coming to Weber's lab?
Today, yes.
Good, I'll catch up. I need to get some supplies.
She nods to the 3 guys. Albert puts his arm around her and squeezes her waist with new intimacy. Luke and Friedrich exchange a look.
And this evening, a new thought experiment.
She smiles and exits around a corner. Albert's eyes quickly notice 2 beautiful women, Nicole, 20s, and Natalie, 20s, walking out of a bakery holding some fresh-baked pastry.
Ladies, and the enchanting Miss Nicole.
Albert, I was just saying how wonderful it was sailing with you.
You were the wonder, Miss Nicole.
Peering out from the pastry shop doorway, the judgmental Liana Bota from Mileva's boarding house watches. Albert mischievously leans in and takes a large bite from Nicole's pastry. She shrieks, he laughs, and the 2 young, beautiful women continue down another street.
Springtime, Friedrich. Can't you feel it?
Interior, Polytechnic School, Physics Lab, day. Flashes of bright light emanate from an electromagnetic generator. Albert manipulates the dials while Mileva meticulously works nearby. 3 male students and Mileva work with Bunsen burners and beakers. Professor Weber, an enigmatic, brilliant scientist with a lavish beard, is a favorite with students. Weber walks among his pupils.
The truths of physics must be tested, analyzed, and, Miss Merrick.
Repeatable in experiments, Professor Weber.
Exactly. Duplication, triplication.
Mileva measures a liquid. Albert takes a wire leading from the electromagnetic generator, turns a dial on the noisy machine. Needles are to the limit. He continues to turn the dials and boom, a small explosion. VFX. Mileva quickly puts down the beaker. Albert's elbow knocks it over. The beaker shatters onto the floor. He cuts himself on a piece of glass. He grimaces in pain.
How many beakers do you intend to destroy today, Mr. Einstein?
Several, Professor. The beakers will die for a valiant cause.
Professor Weber approaches with disapproval.
And what might that be?
Experimentation to reveal God's simple truths of the universe. For that, I might demolish 1,000,000 beakers.
Albert waves his bloodied hand and mockingly lifts high a glass beaker in a toast. Professor Weber strokes his beard with skepticism.
Watch the arrogance, young man.
Weber pulls Mileva aside.
Miss Merrick, would you prefer another lab partner?
No, thank you, Professor.
Einstein is indeed an innovative thinker, but his lab work is sloppy. Partnering with Einstein could jeopardize your own scientific work.
I'll keep that in mind.
Mileva walks back to Einstein, who is still trying to stop his hand from bleeding. He tries to hide his pain. She discreetly and provocatively reaches her hand deep into Albert's pants pocket. She smiles and slowly pulls out a handkerchief and gently wraps his bloody hand. He is grateful. End.
Fakenham Hall by Yellowlees Douglas. Pilot, A Shot in the Dark. At the brink of World War I, a German spy assumes the identity of his dead look-alike half-brother to infiltrate the House of Lords, but must contend with a wild American widow who refuses to let go of her late husband's estate or the past. Act 1, Exterior, Fakenham Hall Estate, Day. The imposing Palladian house shows significant signs of neglect. Chimneys leaning drunkenly, water-stained limestone, a weathered portico. Next to a 1910 roadster, a black funeral carriage, its horses wearing mourning plumes. Zoom in on a second-story window. Interior, Duke of Norfolk room, day. An enormous four-post bed, beautiful furniture, and silver-framed photos linger on one of the two nearly identical boys. A uniformed butler with the bearing of a field marshal, William Sterrett, enters, politely clearing his throat. Clothes on, an aged hand covered with liver spots, using a rubber bulb to loudly suck purge from the nostrils of Ewan Bylaw's corpse. Pull back. Not hearing Sterrett, the rumpled, unkempt Undertaker fusses over the body, which lies on a blood-stained piece of plywood. He pins Ewan's empty sleeve, tucking it under the remaining hand. He accepts the wrapped package from Sterrett's hand and begins opening it avidly.
Mr. Sterrett, only you could realize I was famished before I did.
The Undertaker unwraps the waxed paper and bobbles it, shocked. Sterrett catches it, a forearm with a wedding ring on a finger cleanly hacked off just below the elbow. The Undertaker presses his knuckles against his mouth, revolted. Sterrett watches, expressionless.
What in the name of God?
I thought a man like you wouldn't have turned a hair. The things you must see.
A hacked-off arm? What the devil am I supposed to do with this?
Unpin that sleeve and put it back.
The Undertaker moves away from the table, sickened, then steels himself to sniff the arm.
We put it in the ice house after Lord Ewan hacked it off. He thought it was following him around.
I should hope it was.
He thought it meant to do him harm in his condition.
Why didn't you just bury it?
Martha thought his lordship might need it. Where's he going?
Where he's going, he won't be needing an arm for anything.
Grimacing, the Undertaker puts the arm back inside the formerly empty sleeve. He tries to get both of the corpse's hands crossed prayerfully, but the hacked-off arm keeps slipping. Finally, he shoves both arms at the corpse's sides.
That's a bit more realistic. Lord Ewan wasn't the praying sort.
The Undertaker seems to have recovered his wits.
I don't suppose I can expect to get my bill paid anytime soon.
I shouldn't bring it up with her ladyship just now, if I were you.
Exterior, Fakenham Hall Chapel, day. Servants and estate tenants sit scattered in the pews. Some keep handkerchiefs balled in their fists. Vicar, off stage.
O Lord our God, so unite us to yourself that in fellowship with you we may always be.
An unctuous, beaky-nosed vicar squints as he haltingly reads through the Angelicum funeral service in a high, nasal voice. He glances at the chapel's doors every few words, temporarily losing his place in the service.
United to our loved ones, whether here or there.
The chapel doors bang open. Morgan enters after being prodded forward by her companion, Mrs. Doone, tough beneath the veneer of gentility. Wearing riding clothes, Morgan drops her gloves on the floor as she strides to a pew at the front, rolling her eyes. Mrs. Doone takes the pew right behind her.
Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. I'm already comforted.
Mrs. Doone prods Morgan discreetly as the parishioners murmur. A tenant, Riggs, smiles grimly at the proceedings. He's all restive eyes, missing nothing.
Pissed as a newt, that one.
Pint-sized octogenarian Martha Hutton, a force of nature, glares at Morgan. She digs sniffling teenage skivvy in the ribs hard.
This estate has gone straight to hell and taken us all with it. Oh God, who blinded us to life by holy and tender ties.
The butler, Sterrett, and Mrs. Violet, the 60-something housekeeper, sit a few pews behind Morgan. Grim-faced, Sterrett shakes his head at every few words of the sermon.
I don't like it, not a bit.
Oh, well, I think he's just got the verse muddled. It's bindest us.
That isn't what I meant.
Now you need to stop all that. Lord Ewan was ill these past few months. We all saw it.
You weren't the one who found him.
End.
Ellie, by Beckett E. Davis and Catherine Gollum. Synopsis. Ben thinks he's met the girl of his dreams, but Ellie has a secret. Interior, Hank's Bar, night. Ben and Ellie are at a table in the back, sitting across from each other. They are at least 3 rounds in, based on the empty glasses on the table. Ben is slightly tipsy. Ellie seems fine.
I think it's so cool you're into Roberto Kawagi. He's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah? What's your favorite installation?
Hands down, the one where he became his father. Did you get to see it?
Oh, yeah. It's so funny. I was just looking him up this morning and saw that he's bringing one of the musical hybrid pieces to the MoCA in a couple months.
We're going.
Ben laughs, lapsing into the date, and leans back in the booth regarding Ellie. He clearly has enjoyed her company. Ellie is watching him calmly. Ben is a little thrown by her direct gaze. To deflect her attention, Ben sits forward again.
How are you not in the least bit drunk?
Maybe you just have a terrible tolerance.
Ben chuckles. Then, what next? He needs something to say.
I mean, that kind of thing takes forever to plan. I have to figure out what to do with my job, my apartment, you know.
Take 2.
Yeah. Oh. So.
Yeah.
So, what do...
Tell me something about you that nobody else knows.
You know, I've always wanted to move to Italy.
There is a brief pause while Ellie registers this, head tilted slightly to the side.
Really? For how long? Do you know Italian?
Ben blinks at her, flattered at her sincere interest.
I guess for a full year. I've always just loved the idea of going to Italy and just sitting there and doing nothing but painting, sketching, and eating.
No TV, no phone, just completely unplugged.
Ben stares at her, stars in his eyes.
Exactly. I took Italian in college, but I don't know. I couldn't really stay with it.
Are you still planning on going?
I mean, that kind of thing just takes forever to plan. I have to figure out what to do with my job, my apartment, you know.
Well, you said you don't like your job, and you said you don't love your apartment. So are you still planning on going?
Ben looks at Ellie, who is waiting expectantly for his answer. He's tickled by her attitude, but still hesitant.
I mean, I want to. It's just not that simple.
Sounds pretty simple to me. You're just scared.
Ben is surprised. Harsh, but her words ring true.
Tell me how you really feel.
Look, there's a fine line between extreme confidence and extreme insecurity that separates a person from their best possible self. Only the bold are truly free.
Ben is thrown by what Ellie is saying, but he likes it. He looks down at her hand, resting on his, and smiles. End.
The Grand Dictator, Pay the Debt, pilot. Synopsis: when an international human rights lawyer discovers that she is the illegitimate daughter of a deceased dictator, she struggles to find a way to repent for the atrocities he committed. By B.K. Sadie. Act 1. Interior, Democracy Worldwide, Meeting Room, Morning, NYC. Development Director, 30s, holds up a handwritten check, waves it for all to see. Victory dance. $250,000 made out to Democracy Worldwide. A Program Officer, 30s, claps. Allison, 24, discount designer suit, hoots. She refills the coffee cup in Paula's hand. Paula, huge under-eye circles, gulps her coffee, claps.
I didn't think you'd get $5 from a corporation, let alone $250,000. You, my dear development director, are worth your weight in gold.
The development director pinches a love handle.
Well, I put on a few pounds, so be prepared.
I'm amazed, but we can't accept this.
Development director collapses into a chair, stunned.
You told me to get funding from some fresh sources. Remember that conversation?
He lays the check on the table.
So I asked the company for $50,000 gift.
He holds out a hand with fingers spread out.
5 times. I got 5 times the amount we asked for. I got A's in math, 5 times 50,000.
Okay, enough, I get the point.
Right.
Be the program officer.
Oh. Right, but I'm not sure I got your point. Is it that a non-profit UN affiliate NGO is supposed to stay in the red? Like we're required to be broke?
Paula stifles a yawn, finishes her coffee.
Why do you think they gave you so much more money than you asked for?
Development director shrugs, points to his own smile.
Last night, I got an email from their VP of Business Development asking me for our political connections in countries where they want to expand.
Paula takes the check from the table.
We take money from people who want to support our cause. We don't sell political access.
The development director shrugs away to his office. Paula takes a few paces towards her office doorway. The program officer steps in front of her.
I completely get what you're saying, but you realize that this money could greenlight our free and fair elections program, right?
Paula shakes her head, about to step forward. Program officer stops her.
But can't we take the donation and not hook them up?
A yawn escapes Paula's mouth.
Democracy Worldwide accepts money without any strings attached, period. We'll find funding for the elections program somewhere else.
She crumbles the check in her hand. Interior, Democracy Worldwide, Paula's office. Paula sets her briefcase down on her desk, yawns. She releases the check from her fist on the desk. Allison hands Paula another cup of coffee.
Rough night?
Paula sips from her cup and looks through the papers on her desk.
Yeah, Mateo was sick. Fever, cough, the whole 9 yards.
But everything's okay?
Allison holds out a slip of paper to Paula.
Don't worry, I'll get funding. You'll get your promotion, okay?
Allison nods, waves a paper she holds out.
So that was Ambassador Rodrigo's office before?
Paula takes the note from Allison, looks at it.
You get a look at the news yet?
Yeah. Call back, tell him we'll be over in an hour.
Allison swirls around, marches out, click, door closes. Paula flops down in her desk chair. She smooths out the crumpled check before her on the desk. She rips it, drops half in the wastebasket by her desk. She takes a lighter from the drawer, lights the other half, drops it into the trash. The whole check in flames. Exterior, Republic of Oriya. Presidential Palace, Day, South America. An urn of ashes sits on top of a stone railing of about a woman, 40s, common clothing on the balcony, overlooking a hushed crowd, holds a page from which she reads.
General Conchaya, it is with a heavy heart that I welcome you home.
A slight nod to the head, to the ash urn before her.
When I was 5 years old, you took my parents from me.
Complete silence in the crowd. Hector Sola, 67, clean-shaven, well-groomed but not overly handsome, among the crowd members. He wipes away a tear.
Then when I turned 15, I wrote to you asking for an explanation. Why? Why did you kill them? To my surprise, you answered my letter. You said my parents were guilty of selfishness. They needed to give back to the state with their lives.
In Hector's hand, a lapel pin of the flag of Oriya. He squeezes it so tightly between his thumb and forefinger that he pierces his skin. Drops of blood oozes.
For the past 35 years, we have been demanding your return to face justice and pay for what you have done to us, what you have done to this country, And now, in this state, you have finally been returned to us.
She hurls the ashes into the crowd.
Give back, General, for each and every life you have taken. Give back. Atone the wrongs you have committed here in Oriya. Give back what you have taken away. Pay the debt.
She shakes the urn until it's empty.
Pay the debt.
Ashes waft down upon the roaring crowd.
Pay the debt. Pay the debt.
End.
Pieces, or a West Hollywood club called Rage, a screenplay by Chris Phillips. Synopsis: when notorious openly gay Hollywood heavyweight Stephen Sumner is brutally murdered, Los Angeles public defender Rory Dennis is assigned the defense of Shane Holloway. Interior Public Defender's Office, David Miller's office, day.
Honestly, I thought you'd welcome the break from misdemeanor assault, public urination.
David sits at his desk in an office that, between the file cabinets, fluorescent lighting, and stacks of well-worn folders, is best described as functional. Rory bristles in the corner.
I'm backed up, like...
This is priority.
Why? Because Mary's on it?
Among other things.
I fucking knew it. I don't know what you think I'm going to accomplish. I don't have anything in common with those people.
Those people?
Why don't we drive down to South Central, David, and you tell me how much you have in common with those people?
A lot, Rory. A lot.
Right, from your house in goddamn Valley Village.
A glare from David.
You know, why should I give a shit about some bimbo party boy slicing up some entitled Hollywood faggot?
Look, you and Mary might be buddies, but we both know she can bring the pit bull when she wants to.
So can I.
Exactly. And I want everyone to know that we gave Holloway the best, most appropriate defense possible. I'm paying you a fucking compliment.
Some compliment. Mary will have his ass indicted before the end of the day, and then it's over.
Maybe. But you're gonna give 110 anyway, or clean out your desk.
A tense standoff, 10 years worth of fire in Rory's eyes. He looks away. Sees his co-workers watching the tension through the window on David's office door. David waits.
Body dysmorphia, substance abuse, a pride parade that looks art, directed by an alcoholic 80s porn star. I barely made it out of that shit alive, and you want me to defend one of these guys?
David sighs, relaxes his combative posture.
If all that's true, then this kid needs your help.
Rory stares at him. Bastard doesn't play fair. Interior Los Angeles jail, hallway, day. Rory reaches the interview room. A burly guard, 30, stands outside. Rory flashes his badge and peers in through a window on the door. Shane sits at a table inside under harsh fluorescent light, motionless. Rory studies him for a moment. Hardly looks like a killer. Takes a breath, opens the door. The end.
Mano, written by Donald Ross. Synopsis. After the murder of their cartel mother, two siblings war over her final wishes. Interior, mansion, guest room, day. Maximo knocks, opens, and peekaboos on Giselle, early 50s, stunning retired model, applying lipstick.
Stop that. Go away.
10-minute music cue, sis.
Be out in a minute.
Meet me in the office. I have something for you.
Okay.
He peeks a little more to get a glimpse of her gown.
Out!
He obeys, shuts the door, and continues down the long hallway. He halts in the doorway of his own office. Interior, Maximo's mansion, Maximo's office, day. The office is modern Italian and colorful. Intrigued and irritated, Maximo poses in the doorway, watching Carlos photographing a runway portfolio with his cell phone.
Carlos, what are you doing?
Startled, Carlos fumbles with his cell phone.
You know I admire your work. I was just curious if you added any last-minute designs for the runway.
Maximo closes the portfolio.
Right now, I don't think that's any of your business.
I really didn't mean anything by it.
You must respect my privacy. This is my best collection ever. Winning this year's Fashion God Award means everything to me.
I'm sorry, Max. Really. I'm sorry.
I'll excuse you this one time. You know, just a few months ago, I met a strung-out, lonely young man with a book of sketches who begged me for a job. I instantly saw his potential, but I didn't expect to fall in love.
Maximo locks his lips to Carlos's.
That was a welcome surprise.
You know, I don't like surprises.
Maximo pushes the runway portfolio away.
But you do keep secrets.
On that note, when do I get to meet the in-laws?
Turning away, Carlos bites his lip.
I know we're different. You shouldn't be ashamed of the life you led before me. Everything has changed now. Maybe it's time to reconnect with your parents.
Maximo pinches Carlos's cheek.
Let's concentrate on the future, shall we?
He kisses Carlos.
Wait for me downstairs.
Carlos and Giselle nearly collide in the doorway.
Sorry.
She glides into the room and curtsies.
No one graces Emiliano like you do.
And you look so much better out of an army uniform.
That was a long time ago.
I remember the day Daddy sent you off for basic training. This is really you.
He holds out a small box and pops the lid.
And these are for you.
The diamond earrings sparkle.
Oh, Max, they are stunning.
You're a wonderful sister. I wish your mom and dad could be here.
You may have been adopted, but you're still my brother.
They share a warm smile.
By the way, your niece, Chloe, the busy screenwriter, called and said she is so sorry she can't make it. My ex-husband, number 3, has her working on a film in New York. You know how much she loves you, right?
I was hoping she wouldn't miss the wedding, but maybe we can stop in and see her on her way to Rome.
Sounds divine. I'll let her know.
She shows off the earrings.
Beautiful. The guests are waiting and the clock is ticking. Let's go.
Turning back, she hugs Maximo.
I am so glad you finally found the one who makes you happy.
You go ahead. I'll be there in a minute.
Maximo pulls a distinguished U.S. Army Service Cross from his pants pocket and glances at it. End.
Roman Candle by Derek Abbott. A group of misfit kids must battle against a monster with a mysterious connection to a low-budget horror movie on the last Friday of the summer in 1995. Interior, Arden family living room, morning. Irene lays passed out on a lazy boy as Ray walks in the front door. Ray snaps at her.
Mom!
Irene stumbles a bit and opens her eyes.
You need to get ready for work.
She grunts.
Mom! You're already late.
Irene lifts her head and looks at Ray.
I took a sick day.
Ray looks at her disapprovingly.
I wanted to spend the day with my little ray of sunshine.
Don't call me that.
Oh, humor your poor mother.
Ray grabs a large coffee can full of change from underneath the side table and starts digging through the contents. He pulls out quarters and dimes. Ray looks back up at Irene and has not moved.
Can you get ready?
She motions like she's getting up, but sits herself back down when Ray turns away. Ray picks up the phone sitting on the side table and dials as Irene closes her eyes. Ray holds his hand over the receiver.
Mom! Get up!
Cut to interior, Ella's family kitchen, morning. Deborah, Carl, Beth, and Stack are gathered around the kitchen table as the phone rings. Deborah picks up the cordless phone sitting on the table.
Hello?
She hands phone to Stack.
It's Ray.
Morning, sunshine.
Don't make me have to yell at you two.
He shoots a look at Irene, who seems to be getting up.
Want to see a movie?
Cut to interior, Ella's family kitchen continuous.
Let me see.
She looks at Deborah.
Can I have $10?
Deborah gives her a blank stare.
Sure, I just gotta go buy the sound swap first. What do you want to see?
End.
The Lesson, an original screenplay by Kimberly Kalaja, based on the play The Shooter by Kimberly Kalaja. Overwhelmed by the terror and violence of America, Keller, an assault survivor, buys a gun for herself, and begins to wonder if a gun will be enough to give her solace. Interior, stall at a shooting range.
And before you say a woman shouldn't be riding the subway alone at night,
I wasn't going to say that.
I wasn't alone.
As Keller speaks, flashes from Keller's POV from the subway floor as she is assaulted.
a man in a suit was right there in my subway car, pretending to read a newspaper the whole time, pretending not to see anything. God, people in this city. So, you know what I did? I did the one thing I thought would give me strength. I prayed. I prayed, and let me tell you something, I have never felt so alone, so abandoned in my whole life. That was the night I lost my faith.
What did you expect?
More! I expect more from people.
I meant, what were you praying for? Did you expect God to leap into the subway car and rescue you like some Hollywood hero? That's a child's view of God.
What the hell do you know about anything?
You ever think that maybe if you can't survive something like that, you don't need a gun?
Ty extends his hand in an effort to take the gun from Keller.
Maybe you're stronger than you think. Maybe you already got all you need.
The gun is still in her hand. Keller spontaneously grabs Ty's face and kisses him. This kiss is motivated not so much by passion as by a desperate need to connect. Ty feels it too, and is just beginning to relax into the kiss when the gun accidentally discharges next to his head. Keller screams. Ty crumbles to the floor, grabbing his head. Employees and other shooters rush to their stall to evaluate the damage. It is not clear at first if/how badly Ty is injured. Keller sets the gun down in terror. After a few beats, Ty stands up, stretching his jaw and kneading his ear to restore his hearing.
I'm okay. Everything is okay.
After confirming his safety, the crowd disperses. The noise of gallery gradually resumes, giving Ty and Keller privacy again. Keller is a mess.
You know, after I got shot, the worst part wasn't losing my job or even having my leg messed up. It was admitting to myself how vulnerable I am, how fragile it all is for all of us.
Before that night, everything was different. I was so different.
Ty faces Keller and puts his hand on her shoulders.
Listen, more bad shit's gonna happen. You know that, right? But the way I see it, as long as we're still here to face whatever's coming next, we're the lucky ones. We gotta do something with it.
Lucky? Surviving isn't enough for me.
What more do you want?
I want to go back to who I was before.
A sad but knowing smile creeps across Ty's face. In this moment, he completely understands Keller. So he has just put into words his own deepest desire, to go back to the man he was before.
Well, shit.
Ty starts to laugh, the kind of laugh that one deploys in order not to cry. Keller laughs too, a tearful blend of self-realization and loss and relief.
What do you say? Shall we go again?
No. Thanks, but I don't think this is going to work.
Maybe not. But you're here. And that's something.
Ty raises his hands. In the gesture one uses to show a cop he isn't carrying a gun.
I'm just going to adjust your posture. You tell me if that's okay.
It's okay. I'm so sorry.
Forget about it.
Ty,
Yeah?
have you really lost your faith in people?
I'm here, aren't I?
Why? Why are you here?
Maybe I can't be a cop anymore. But I still want to do something important. Maybe make a difference. Help people who are hurting. Stop someone from hurting someone else. We all gotta find our own path through the chaos.
Keller loads her gun, faces the target, and gets in her stance.
That's it. Find your balance. Light grip, deep breath, focus, just try to trust it.
Keller looks through the sights of the human silhouette target in the outline of a man. Series of flashback shots simultaneous to VO of Ty. The face of her attacker smiling at her before he attacks her. The emotionless face of Ty's shooter before he shoots Ty. Ty lying, wounded on the side of the turnpike. The man in the suit reading the paper in her subway car, pretending not to witness the assault.
A gun won't protect you from what really scares you. Nothing can protect you from that.
Silence. Shot of a human silhouette target through Keller's sight. Keller loads the gun. She understands at last that a gun is not enough to protect her from what really scares her. Indifference. Fade out. End.
1717 Primrose, written by Brooks Hall. Synopsis. A group of kids are out with a borrowed drone, but when it crashes into a mysterious neighbor's window, one boy gets more than he bargains for. Fade in, exterior sidewalk in front of an old home, late afternoon. Derek, 13, jeans and a striped collared shirt, holds a drone with a backpack slung over his shoulder. Beside him are Jack, 12, with matted blonde hair and braces, and TJ, 13, tall, awkward, wearing a baseball cap, Batman t-shirt, and skateboard in hand. They are standing in awe, looking at a monstrosity of a house. The sidewalk leading up to the home is riddled with cracks. The front yard lawn is unkept and stands about a foot high.
Always gives me the creeps.
All three boys stare at the old home.
Because that Russian spy.
He's a harmless old man. My mom met him walking his dog one night.
He's KGB, trust me.
Jack reaches for the drone, but Derek pulls it back.
No way. You guys are overreacting.
Who knows? Maybe we can report something to the cops. Be heroes. Get on CNN and shit.
I'm not even supposed to have this. My dad just got back from his research trip. I have to get it back to the house before he finds out.
Aren't you curious what's inside?
Derek starts to walk away. He passes a telephone pole with a missing person sign stapled on it.
Hey, come on, man. Grow a pair. Sometimes I think you're still in 6th grade. You probably haven't even dropped them yet.
Derek stops. Cut to, moments later, Derek takes out the remote control, which has a display screen on it. He lays the drone on the ground. The light kicks on and the drone powers up. All three boys look at each other and shrug. The drone begins to take flight. We see the colors of fall as the drone ascends. It slowly approaches the second floor, tucked away behind a bunch of oak trees. Vines coil around the house. Derek does maneuvers and the drone circles the house. Suddenly, Jack snatches the remote from Derek's hand and begins to fly it. They wrestle for the remote.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
The drone snaps branches as it makes its way around the side of the house.
Just give me a minute.
The drone makes erratic movements, gets clipped by a tree branch, and crashes through a second-floor window. Jack finally lets go of the remote. They all look at each other in shock.
What the hell? Now what do we do, huh? My dad's gonna kill me.
They stand there looking at the house.
Go knock on the old man's door and tell him what happened.
You're the one holding the remote, plus I have to be home for dinner soon.
A wind picks up and the sun begins to set. Derek turns to Jack and TJ.
I swear, if you don't...
Before he can get in another word, he sees them running away in a full-out sprint. Jack glances back.
Get proof while you're in there!
Derek shoots him the finger.
Assholes!
Derek looks around, then stares at the house and takes a deep breath.
You got this.
He makes his way up to the old edifice. End.
Wed Rot by Stuart Krett. Kid wonders why Dad is spending so much time in the basement, cleaning up the mildew growing there. Interior, kitchen, night. A small dinette table in a modest room, sparsely furnished. Kit Fisher, an ordinary 12-year-old boy, and his ordinary 9-year-old sister, Sally, help themselves to mashed potatoes, gravy, and peas. Richard Fisher, 34, sets a pan of roasted chicken on the table. He sits and passes chicken to the kids with tongs.
Kit, your turn tonight.
The family members join hands and bow their heads.
Lord, let us be truly thankful for our dinner and for being together as a family to share it.
Please tell Mommy we love her.
Not at grace, Sally. That's a bedtime prayer.
It's okay, kid. There's never a wrong time to remember Mommy.
Interior, living room, night. The living room just as sparsely furnished. A small TV on a stand, a bookshelf, and a couch. The kids watch cartoons. Richard carries a basket of laundry through the room to a door behind the TV.
If I'm not back up from the basement before this show ends, remember, bedtime. Kid?
Yeah, Dad. I'll remember.
Richard goes through the door. Interior, basement, night. He descends the stairs into an unfinished basement. He takes a basket of laundry to the washer. He's about to load the machine when he sniffs. He knows that smell. He inspects the area around the wash. He pulls the machine away from the wall. The wall behind the washer has patches of gray mold.
Gotta nip that in the bud.
He goes to the shelf on the adjacent wall and pulls down a spray bottle of mildew killer. He takes an aim and sprays the patches, saturating them. Satisfied, he sets the bottle down and replaces the washer. He starts doing the wash. Interior, kitchen, day. The kids eat cereal at the dinette table. Richard enters. Sally runs to him and gives him a hug.
Daddy!
Hi, baby bug.
I packed your lunch.
Thanks, kid. I gotta go check something in the basement.
He strokes Sally's hair, then motions her back to her breakfast. He heads back to the basement. Interior, basement day. Richard pulls the washer away from the wall. He sees something troubling. He grabs a flashlight from the utility shelf, switches it on, and shines it on the wall. The gray patches have returned, bigger than before. They look like wads of chewing gum, 6 inches by an inch or so.
Damn.
He takes an old rag and pours laundry bleach on it. He reaches back to wipe the mold patches from the bleach. Interior, hardware store, day. Richard peruses the products in the cleaner and disinfectant aisle of the small local hardware store. He notices Arnold Taylor, 48, walking past the end of the aisle and calls out.
Hey, Arnold, what do you know about gray mold on walls?
Arnold comes to Richard.
Gray mold? In your house?
Yeah, the basement, behind the washer.
Arnold whistles.
That can be tough. You need to call someone in to check that out.
Get serious?
Can be. Neighbor of mine got this mold on his walls, couldn't kill it. Spraying, fumigation, nothing worked. Had to have half of his house torn down by a toxic waste disposal crew.
Toxic waste?
Cost him a fortune. Those spores can get into anything. Get some professional help.
Yeah, well, if I can afford it, I think I'll try it on my own.
Well, okay. We have a few things here that might work.
Arnold takes down a bottle and shows the label to Richard. Interior, kitchen, night. Richard enters with a large paper sack from the hardware store, and Sally runs to him.
Daddy!
Not now, baby bug. I gotta go downstairs.
I got the roast in the oven, Dad.
Thanks, kid.
End.
February, written by Petros Georgiadis, and I apologize if I didn't get that right. Synopsis: while Peter struggles with his sexuality and navigates the shame and anxiety associated with his sexual exploration, he meets a mysterious man online who he develops an honest conversation with, which will change the course of his life. Exterior, Astoria Park, night. The lights of the Triborough Bridge are out of focus. A silhouette approaches until Peter, 25, is in full focus. Club music thumps in the background, getting louder and louder.
If you could be any animal, which would it be?
Interior, lounge, night. Music blasts in a busy lounge. Peter and Sharon lean against the wall, making out. His waiter uniform still on. Peter glances over to see if he is being watched and continues making out with Sharon. Interior, bathroom, continuous. They barge into the bathroom, continuing to make out. Sharon begins to undo his belt. He stops her.
What is it?
Peter is nervous and breathes heavy, unsure of what to say. He continues to kiss her. She tries to undo his pants again, and he pushes her away.
What's your problem?
I'm sorry. I've got to go.
He storms out of the bathroom, leaving Sharon confused. Exterior, night, continuous. Peter runs down the street, eventually slowing down, catching his breath. He notices a man walking toward him. They lock eyes. Both men turn and look over as they pass, stopping in their tracks, each nervous to make a move. Cut to interior bedroom, morning. Peter is asleep in bed. His mom leans against the doorframe, watching him. She leans forward and gives him a kiss on the head. His eyes open, but he doesn't move to acknowledge her.
I love you, my baby.
Interior bathroom, continuous. Peter stares at himself in the mirror while brushing his teeth. Exterior, street, day. Peter walks and stops in front of an apartment building. He checks his phone and walks inside. Interior, Ivan's apartment, continuous. Ivan, 30s, opens the door. Peter enters as he looks around at the beautifully decorated apartment. Ivan closes the door behind him and they face each other. Ivan is very confident as he turns to Peter, who is clearly very nervous.
Would you like something to drink?
I'm okay.
I'm glad you came over.
Ivan grabs Peter by the shoulders and kisses him. After a few moments, Peter pulls away.
You all right?
I've never done this before.
Never kissed a boy before?
Peter doesn't reply. Ivan smiles.
We can take it slow.
They kiss again. Their hands explore each other's bodies. Peter pulls away.
Are you clean?
Am I clean?
I mean, are you STD free?
Yes, I am clean. Are you?
Yeah, of course.
Peter takes off Ivan's shirt and reaches down his pants. After a moment, Peter pulls away.
I'm sorry. Maybe we can do this another time.
I guess so.
Peter rushes out the door. Interior, exterior, deli, continuous. Peter drops $1 on the counter and exits. He gargles and rinses his mouth with a bottle of water. Interior bedroom, night. Peter lays in bed, checking social media. He comes across a profile of a man named Jake. He browses and likes a few of his photos. Suddenly, he gets a notification.
Hey, thanks for liking my photo. I'm Jake.
Hi, I'm Peter.
He puts down his phone and stares at the ceiling. His phone beeps again. He checks it.
You're up late.
Makes two of us.
I'm on Irish time, morning here.
Oh, never been. I love Irish accents.
Yeah, they're great. I wish I had one.
I must imagine you with one.
How do you imagine I sound now?
Normal, I guess.
Going forward, Peter and Jake's conversation will be voiceover. That past one with subtitles.
Sorry to disappoint. I'm originally from Portland, but I bounced around the States. I bet you have a New York accent.
I'm sure you'd think so.
Do you pronounce coffee like coffee?
No, I'm not that New York.
Tell me about yourself.
What would you like to know?
Do you have any hobbies?
Depends on my mood. I like exercising, going to the park, and I also like to write.
What do you write?
All sorts of stuff I need to express.
How long have you been in the closet?
What makes you think I'm in the closet?
I've been looking at your photos. I sense a lack of transparency in you.
Peter hides behind his silence.
Are you not out yet?
No.
Would it be all right if I asked why?
It's late. I should sleep.
He shuts his phone, he gets up and undoes his bedsheets. He looks above his headboard at a religious cross hanging against the wall. He takes it and stares at it for a moment and suddenly begins to cry. He tucks the cross underneath his pillow and lays down. Fade out. End.
From Here by James Sweeney. An overly protective man harbors his family in their suburban home while the world outside succumbs to supernatural terror. When a helpless woman stumbles upon his front door, he must decide whether to risk his family's safety and let her in, or leave her to die outside. Black, not long before, interior living room day. A suburban home, run-of-the-mill, could be new, could be old, doesn't matter. It's a house, but hardly feels like home. Curtains block the sunlight, casting a noticeable shadow across the house. An anxious stillness in the air, but little to show for it. A holler in the kitchen changes that.
Lucy! Hey, Lucy!
What?
You practice yet?
No.
Practice makes perfect.
I guess you never practice.
Get down here.
No answer upstairs.
Lucy!
I'm coming.
The quiet remains until a thump at the top of the stairs. Two more thumps reveal Lucy, 12, dragging her feet downstairs. Inch by inch, she makes her way to the bottom. $100 sitting on the baby grand couldn't make her move any faster. Eventually, she settles on the bench. She looks to the kitchen, smirks and plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star before a shout from the kitchen.
Really?
She sticks her tongue out, pulls sheet music from under the bench and sets it on the music rack. She squints, too dark. She turns to the window curtains, hops off the bench and whips them open. The bright sun cascades into the once sullen room. With the sun beaming through, the room radiates beauty. As Lucy slides back into the bench, she prepares to play with the giant window in full view. She starts playing a solemn tune, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Outside, in the middle of suburbia, a runaway car careens through picket fences and makes a beeline for our house. Half a mile out, there's no way it'll make it here. Lucy continues her melody in peace. She stumbles on a few notes but keeps at it. The runaway car rumbles along, still on a collision course with our house. The car is getting close now, uncomfortably close. Lucy stumbles on an out-of-tune key. She jabs at it. Still sounds the same. Looks closely, oblivious to the runaway just over yonder. She takes a breath, ready to resume, but the car roars into the front lawn. Lucy whips her head toward the window. The car stretches across the lawn and bashes into the porch. Frankie, 15, sprints into the living room, grabs Lucy's arm and pulls her from the window, her eyes glued to the scene.
Lucy, this way, come on!
She freezes. A pair of workman's hands latch into her shoulders and swivel her to the right. Aaron, 40s, worn beyond his years, stares into Lucy's eyes.
Follow your brother, now!
The urgency in Aaron's voice startles her. She hustles over to Frankie. Aaron turns to Frankie.
Take your sister upstairs, wait there until I tell you.
Frankie nods, takes Lucy's hand and races up the stairs. Aaron returns his gaze to the window. Outside, a man stumbles out of the crashed car. He crawls on his knees, swats the air like a gang of bees are after him. The man inches closer and closer to the front door. He continues to flail his arms, screaming at the sky. Aaron reaches under the coffee table and pulls an old hunting rifle, tiptoes to the door, a slight limp in his step, never breaking concentration with the flailing man. As he cocks the rifle, he leans against the door, peeks through the mail slot, no sign of the man. Knock, knock. The jolts discombobulate Aaron. The knocks get more and more intense. Aaron positions himself to fire. Slow breath, waiting for his chance, about to pull the trigger.
Don't hurt them! Don't hurt them!
Aaron stares at Frankie, who covers the mouth of precious 5-year-old Jessie. The knocking escalates as Jessie shouts through Frankie's hand. But the thudding stops. The break in action uncomfortably sudden. Aaron leans toward the window, consciously scans the area, but the man is gone. A rumble builds outside. Aaron points his gun at the door, tiptoes back to his post. The rumble disappears, and a snicker takes its place. The sun flickers through the window, at least that's what it seems. A closer look reveals a large, demonic tail fluttering up and down, screening the afternoon rays. Aaron's grip glows white, waits for the beast to pass. Seconds tick like minutes before the beast finally retreats. Aaron checks. Nothing but the blinding light of a summer sun. Exterior house, same. Aaron's eyes peek through the window. In this large suburban neighborhood, they're the only sign of life for miles, but they're far from alone. Black, titles from here, end.
Delusion by John So. The non-existent story of love between an old man who lives in his own delusion and a victim of his obsession. Black screen. We hear the sound of sand going down from the sandglass. Fade into interior shabby room, afternoon. Close on a sandglass. The sand slipping from the upper portion into the lower. We pull out to see Frank, 60s, white-haired, with the glass on, gives off a warm impression. He sits in the chair near the window, watches contemplatively the sandglass that stands on the low table before him. Frank turns the sandglass over before the last of the sands goes down. Things are scattered all over his small and shabby room. An old and broken clock is set on the table, and an uncompleted painting of the woman is put on the canvas close to him. On the paint-peeled walls hang several photo frames of Julia with her smiles. Young Frank, around 30, short-haired, normal-looking male, motionlessly gazes into the window from the opposite side of Frank, near by the door. Frank stares out the window.
Isn't it beautiful? It's more beautiful after heavy rain.
Young Frank shows no response, not budging an inch. His eyes are still fixed on the window.
Nothing else matters, regardless of what has happened before now. Everything just shines.
Silence.
Once there was a woman who shone. Her smile was like sunshine itself. Just like sunshine.
Exterior, imaginary place in an orchard, afternoon. Endless number of thin and mid-sized trees are neatly arranged in the orchard. A beautiful woman walking through the grass. It's Julia. Wearing a short white pleated dress, Julia turns her head back to see Frank with a smile. And Frank tries to look straight at her face, but the sunshine above her makes him grimace.
Julia, that was her name. She was gorgeous. A thing of beauty.
Julia hides and peeks through the trees, as if she plays a hide and seek with Frank. Frank takes a few steps towards Julia, suddenly stops, turns his head to the right, where an odd rattling sound emanates. Cut to exterior, imaginary place in an orchard afternoon. Julia lays down and poses on the meadow for drawing, holds an apple in her hand and bites it. And young Frank sits down on the chair and draws her body. We can't see young Frank's face, only his hands and parts of his legs are visible. Julia gazes up at Frank as she realizes him standing.
I was naturally fascinated by her charm from the moment we met.
Julia smiles at him, seductively bites into an apple.
Her smile shines brighter than anything around her, demolishing my internal walls and filling my mind with her light.
Young Frank's hand moves intensively to paint her on the canvas.
I tried desperately to capture her light in my paintings.
Exterior, imaginary place in an orchard afternoon. We see someone's foot make the snap of a twig behind the tree. It's Julia. Frank turns his head to where the sound came from, sees nobody. Then he turns back. He is alone.
Frank!
Julia calls him as she walks backward in distance and disappears behind the woods. Frank walks towards where her voice comes from. Interior, shabby room, continuous.
It's funny how quickly two people can be drawn to each other. Human beings are lonely creatures.
Exterior, imaginary place in orchard, continuous. Frank walks through the orchard looking around to find Julia.
When we see each other's eyes, we both knew what we wanted.
Frank stops and Julia hugs him from behind. Cut to exterior, imaginary place in an orchard, afternoon. Frank lays Julia down on the grass.
If I step closer to Julia, then I step farther from reality.
Frank slowly touches Julia's face from forehead to chin, slowly, one by one.
I wanted to see every inch of her, feel every part, have every bit of her all to myself. I smell her hair. I smell her hair, kissed her eyes, felt her nose, tasted her lips.
Frank smells her hair, kisses her eyes, touches her nose and lips. Interior, shabby room, continuous.
I was mad for her. Funny how mad is another term for love. Avoiding that, you are lonely.
Frank stares at the painting.
That's what I've learned from her.
The end.
Steam by Robert Languedoc. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Two inner city boys befriend an elderly man over a mutual interest in trains, then embark upon an adventure to save a forgotten steam engine. Fade in. Exterior. Sidewalk in New Haven. Afternoon. Brownstones line the street. Granite staircases reach into the sidewalk. Tall, slender, white, gray-haired newsboy cap, 70, Mr. Elliot, marches up the walkway, carrying a paper bag containing a long red box. He stares directly ahead as he steps rhythmically. Clayton, slim, black, short hair, 12, positions himself to block Mr. Elliot's progress.
What you got in the bag, old man?
What's it to you, boy?
Don't call me boy.
Don't call me old man.
You is old man.
You're a boy.
Don't call me that. What you got?
A box.
What's in the box, fool?
Train.
What kind of train?
It's called a reefer, short for...
Refrigeration.
That's right.
What you gonna do with it?
Same thing I do with all my trains.
You got a lot of trains?
Goodly amount.
Like the hobby shop?
You been in there?
Guy usually tells me to leave because I ain't buying nothing.
He can be kind of cranky. What road names do you like?
Santa Fe, BNSF, New York, New Haven, Hartford.
Oh, you have any of those?
I don't got no trains of my own. You got a layout?
Yes.
You been to the rail yard?
You don't tag cars, do you?
No. I like watching the switchers.
Me too.
Mr. Elliot straightens up as Clayton steps to the side.
So, you got a lot of trains?
Yes.
Big layout?
Uh-huh.
That must be something to see.
Mr. Elliott passes Clayton and glances over his shoulder.
I thought all you kids just played video games.
Clayton shrugs.
You really want to see some trains? We can ask your mother tomorrow.
She don't care.
Have to ask. Tomorrow at 3, right here. Okay?
Clayton nods. Mr. Elliott turns and continues his march. End.
No Place Like Nowhere, written by Ron Egozi. A musical love story centering on John Lennon and Yoko Ono's final year together. Interior, New York City recording studio, Hit Factory, day, continuous. An assistant rushes over to the delivery guy and signs for the package, then ushers him out. Yoko Ono 47 and John Lennon are seated in tall director's chairs surrounded by the Double Fantasy studio musicians. Earl Slick, 20s, guitar. Andy Newmark, 20s, drums. George Smalls, 30s, keyboard. Hugh McCracken, 30s, guitar. Tony Levin, 30s, bass. Bob Gruen, 30s, photographer. Tony D, 30s, arranger. Julian Nico, 20s, backup singers. Arthur Jenkins, 30s, percussion.
That there's the important thing, fellas. That and a heavy dose of rock and roll.
Yes, add up all the little moments in your day. If you are real and your intentions come from a place of love, then the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts.
Everyone pauses to take in Yoko's words. Hugh points to the John Sinclair Freedom Rally poster on the wall from 1971, at which John and Yoko performed.
What was the show like?
That wasn't just a show. That was a national rally cry. John Sinclair has already served 2 out of 10 years for giving away 2 joints.
It was another really crazy time in American history. The summer of love was over and Nixon was president. We really wanted to do something to help.
Lucky for Sinclair, you made your voice heard.
We sang it loud and proud. Somehow we got the judge to notice and listen to the people.
Oh, they noticed all right. Soon after that, someone in the government tried to get me deported.
Nixon?
Exactly. Tricky Dick and his old pal, Jacoby.
Why?
When you speak truth to power and people really hear that truth, people will want to change. And the power that we will have to make a change
or revolution will boil over. The establishment considers us dangerous. We were trying to change things.
That's right. We are still trying to change the world.
We even tried to create a new kind of promised land. John and I called it Utopia.
Audio, intercom, voice of Jack Douglas, 45, record producer.
Okay now, if everyone takes your places, we can get this rolling.
Utopia, what's that?
Utopia is a beautiful thing. Let's save that for another time. Let's make some music.
Just about to get ready to roll now.
Just about ready. Come on now. Put the fucking mic in the center of the room. Let's roll.
The musicians walk into the studio, flash of hands, giving out a guitar and handing off a bass. End.
Indivisible Mom, pilot, written by I. Rowe. A devoted, introverted mom becomes a grassroots organizer to save her friend's health care and is swept into the blue wave of Congress. Act 1. Interior, Stephanie's DC condo. Kitchen, evening.
Allison, you're here, I'm here, we're doing this, we got this. It might even be fun.
That's not likely. What's wrong with normal press releases? Statements?
I agree. This seems seat of the pants, too vulnerable. With all due respect, Representative Lee, I could look into hiring.
Guys, come on, we talked about this being real, breaking down that wall.
It's a great way to connect with constituents, although we should really live stream.
Allison raises her eyebrows in alarm.
Baby steps.
Fine. Shall I go?
I actually never stopped filming. Go ahead.
Allison shoots daggers. Chrissy stifles a grin.
Good evening. I'm Representative Green. And Representative Lee and I are both freshman senators. This is Chrissy, my intern.
Hi guys, thank you for sending me all of your questions. If you have a question for Representative Green or Lee, send them to me at ChrissyAngel20 and we'll answer them at our next session.
And our cameraman is Peter on Representative Lee's staff.
Here, let me.
Chrissy takes the iPhone, turns it toward Peter Levin, 30s. warm, effusive, and uncomfortable in front of the camera.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peter. Nice to meet you all. And I'm more comfortable behind the scenes. Here, I'll take that.
He reaches for the iPhone, keeps all three women in frame.
I invited everyone over for dinner, so grab a glass of wine and join us. I'm making my super simple chicken soup, sauteing some garlic. It smells so good.
She tilts the pot toward the camera where garlic sizzles.
So our first question is, what got you into politics?
Chrissy looks at Allison, who looks at Stephanie.
Well, for me, it wasn't what. It was who.
End of Act 1. End.
Addicts by Mara Henkin. Okay, 8 months into her pregnancy, a woman mysteriously leaves her boyfriend and accidentally joins Love Addicts Anonymous. Act 1. Interior, church basement. After meeting, same day. Laura takes the cookies out of her bag and dumps them on the empty plate. Laura glowers over at the cookies. She grabs one and puts it in her mouth. She turns around and bumps into Dwayne.
Hey,
Hi.
As she speaks, the cookie falls out of her mouth and onto the floor. She's about to bend over to pick up the cookie, but Dwayne stops her.
I got it.
Nope, I got it.
Dwayne picks up the cookie.
We're a community here. We help each other. It's part of what makes this whole thing work.
Makes sense. Besides, every time I bend over, I release a slow fart.
He chuckles. Dwayne,
Laura.
Exterior, church parking lot, same day. Dwayne walks Laura to her car.
So you've been without love for...
5 years.
That's incredible, and you're happy?
Oh, completely. I hit rock bottom after my ex cheated on me. I still had the keys to her place. I walked in there, took all of her silverware, threw it in the microwave, and put it on high for an hour. Forks, knives spewed out of there like fireworks on the 4th of July. At least that's what it said in the police report.
Oh my God!
Picked up a copy of Siddhartha, got into Buddhism.
That helped?
Buddha says to get rid of everything in your life that causes pain, earthly and spiritual. Now, I'm happy to say I'm emotionally sober. And I take the bus.
Oh, I want to get to that point where I can just be there for my daughter.
It's a girl.
Yeah.
She forces a smile.
Just another woman on the planet who's going to get screwed over and live a life of misery because all men are shit. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's the 3rd step of recovery. Gender-pointed anger. Thinking that all men are shit.
Oh!
Yeah, 2nd step was pointed anger. Your ex was shit. 1st step, of course, was self-inflicted anger. Your shit.
I think I'm still kind of there. Hello, I'm shit. Nice to meet you.
She shakes his hand. He laughs. They hold hands a little too long.
I hope this isn't too forward, but
Laura looks hopeful.
I would love to be your sponsor.
Oh,
Laura drops his hand.
does the LAA condone hetero male-female sponsorships?
Well, it's only a problem when there's attraction.
Right. And clearly we're not, yes, you're really nice. And yes, I would love to have you as a sponsor.
Amazing. I have a good track record, you know.
Thank you.
I'll make you hate men in no time.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
This time for you is going to be the hardest. So if you need anything at all, please,
He gives her his business card.
call me.
Maybe.
It's okay to ask for help, Laura. Even if it's just getting you pickles.
I could always use a pickle.
Dwayne opens Laura's car door and she steps inside.
Out of curiosity, what's the 4th step to recovery?
Sex.
Dwayne shuts her door. End.
Just the Wind by Saul Barenbaum. A family Thanksgiving in a dismal western Pennsylvania town becomes an even more grim and grisly affair than usual. Interior, Jeremy and Camille's motel room, night. The clock reads 8:59 and turns to 9. The room is sparsely furnished, featuring only the bed, a small bedside table topped with a Bible, and a small circular off-yellow breakfast table off in the corner next to the bathroom. The walls are lined with cheap, dark, thin wood paneling, and the bed is dressed with grainy, heavy cloth. Camille eyes the comforter with disdain and tosses it to the floor, giving the rest of the layers underneath a once-over for stains and other filth. Jeremy and Camille start to get undressed for bed and casually remove most of their clothing piece by piece as they talk.
So I know I ask this every time we see them, but what is the deal with those two anyway? I mean, she's a guidance counselor, right? You'd think she'd have the sense to kick his ass to the curb, like forever ago by now.
You remember your guidance counselor?
Mr. Clark.
He knew his ass from a hole in the ground?
Yeah, nah, I gotcha.
And yeah, you know they've been together forever, break up, get back together.
Yeah, but what's his deal, you know? I mean, I know I hardly ever see him except at holidays and stuff, but he always comes off just like a little sniveling shit. What is it he does again anyway?
Greg? Not sure right now. Used to work in a record store, got fired for lazing around too much.
How do you even do that?
Abrupt cut to record store day. Single static shot cutaway. Music cue. Party mindset by Andrew W.K. Intro only, though the store's speaker system. Two guys come in and out of the record store multiple times, grabbing speakers, turntables, and finally entire shelving units full of product in the background. The enter and exit door chimes go off one after the other as they go back and forth, stealing items. In the foreground, Greg is sound asleep on the job, sprawled in the counter from the waist up. A third intruder uses a fine point Sharpie to draw a large penis with squiggly, hairy testicles on the side of Greg's face, ejaculating into his mouth. When he's finished, he admires his work proudly, picks Greg's head up off the counter, and turns it to the other side. Greg stirs gently, but does not awaken. The man then begins drawing another large penis with the same intimate level of detail on the other side of Greg's face, chuckling quietly to himself as his accomplices continue to steal furniture in the background at a leisurely pace. Abrupt cut to interior Cordy, Greg, and Jack's motel room night. The room is structured, paneled, furnished, and dressed exactly the same as Camille and Jeremy's, but has two beds instead of just the one, and feels significantly more claustrophobic as a result. Jack is in the restroom unpacking a small travel bag and getting ready to brush his teeth. Cordy and Greg lie in bed. The pizza box rests on the foot of it. Cordy has removed over her overshirt and Greg has removed his jacket. Cordy reaches over for the last slice of pizza and takes a bite. While Jack brushes his teeth in the bathroom, he can overhear this conversation, and he's left the door partially ajar. He leans in with his ear just a bit. Greg pulls his vape pen from his pocket, hits it, and offers it to Cordy, who somewhat begrudgingly accepts. She takes a single deep, long hit.
Hey, listen. You're right about back in the car, and I know I've been a bit, iffy recently.
Jack rolls his eyes and mimics iffy as he brushes his teeth in the next room, foaming toothpaste shooting out of his mouth as he does. He pays it no mind and goes back to brushing.
It's not just that, dude. It's like every little thing's like a thing, you know?
She exhales. Jack slows down his brushing to listen to it better.
I get enough of that petty bullshit from the kids in my school.
She hands Greg his vape pen back.
I know, I do. On top of it.
His eyes lighten up just a bit.
Hey, what'd the minister say to the altar boy?
I don't know.
Greg leans in and kisses her on the mouth. Cordy tries to hold back a smile but can't. In the next room, Jack violently gags and spits out his toothpaste, hacking violently after her. Greg and Cordy laugh quietly to themselves for a moment.
I'm just gonna call my mom back and say goodnight real quick. I'll put in a good word for you, shithead.
She gives him another quick kiss, takes one more bite of the cold pizza slice, places the rest of it in his mouth, and gets out of bed, throwing his coat on as she heads outside. Greg checks her out as she walks out of the door, pizza still in between his teeth, then turns his head to see Jack standing by the bathroom door, toothbrush still in hand, eyeing him stoically. Cut to exterior, motel parking lot, night. Cordy wraps herself up in her arms to shield herself from the cool night air and calls her mom back. We see the farmhouse sitting quietly against a dark purple-gray night sky. Gertie's silhouette backlit by the light in the attic window as she answers her. She answers the phone sweetly.
Hey, honey, you settled in for the night?
Hey, Mom, yeah, we found a real nice place. Real nice, fine place here.
I'll bet, with your sister keeping tabs on the train fare minute by minute.
Yeah, not exactly the Pierre here, but it's cozy enough.
As this conversation is happening, we slowly move in from the farmhouse exterior on a Steadicam, and without cutting, traverse through the ground floor of the house, up the cramped old staircase to the upstairs hall, and up the attic steps. The only sound heard is that of Cordy and Gertie conversing on the phone.
Right okay once you got out of the city?
Yeah, we made pretty good time once we got moving. Got another 4 or 5 hours tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. I know it's been since Christmas that
Oh, hush now. I know you've been busy. How's work?
Same old stuff all the time. I don't know where these kids get off acting the way they do, thinking the way they do. 9 times out of 10, it's the parents just not giving a damn. Maybe they just don't notice.
Parents always notice. You sound a little down, hon. Everything okay at home?
Yeah, things are fine. Greg's still looking for work right now, but I'm sure things will work out for him. Always seem to.
When we reach the attic, we see Gertie from behind, amidst a mountain of boxes, ragged old clothes, ancient furniture, dusty old frames, kitchen supplies, and cobwebs. A single ray of moonlight shines in through the window. Gertie is leisurely flipping through an old family photo album. We focus in on several pages as she regards them, running her hand across most of them as she goes. We see her with her late husband, Jack Sr., at very young ages, moving into their first apartment, barren save for the new love seat they're sitting on, followed by a shot of Jack standing in front of the steel mill, proudly in a worker's uniform. There is a photo of them hugging on Christmas and kissing on New Year's Eve, then one of Gertie pregnant with Camille at a 4th of July picnic.
Well, you've been together a long time, and boys will be boys, you know.
Yeah, I guess they will, won't they?
Everyone else okay? How's Junior?
Jack's fine, Cammy's good too. We all miss you a lot. But hey, feels like I'm doing all the talking here. How are you doing?
Oh, you know, same old, I get by, but there's so much to do around the house, let alone the rest of this old place. Been a while since we've done any real work on the barn or the pond. Carter keeps busy enough just keeping the ryegrass in check.
There was a shot of the couple in front of the old sold sign in front of their farmhouse, with Gertie holding Camille as a baby. Then several shots of Jack fixing up the farmhouse and barn, followed by a short series of him digging out a swimming pond at the edge of the property and lining it with a ring of small rocks from the woods behind him. We see the children as babies, and many moments of them growing up, as well as Carter being adopted and growing up with them. Then a photo of him in a military uniform, one of him recovering from losing his left leg, and finally one of him with his new metal leg in a physical therapist office.
How's Carter been, by the way? You're not working him too hard, I hope.
Oh no, he goes into town on the odd errand, sure, but he mostly keeps busy around the house. He just fixed the window in the front door today. You wouldn't even be able to tell anything ever happened to it.
The stained glass? Wow, feels like that thing's been...
13. Can't believe it's taken us this long to deal with it. Cracking that window's been here with me longer than all you kids.
We see photos of Aunt Sophie's courtship and wedding with a strong-looking man named Frank, as well as Camille and Jeremy's courtship and wedding. These are followed by a much more recent photo of Jack Sr. in the living room, at a much older age, sitting in his recliner, reading the newspaper and eyeing the camera inquisitively over the rim of his reading glasses.
Well, Dad never was the handiest around the house for living on a farm.
No, he wasn't. We were too busy spending time together after the kids went to sleep at night.
Ew, Mom.
And once you were all off to college in the big city, and it was just Carter here all the way at the other end of the hall.
Ew, Mom.
Finally, we see Jack Sr.'s funeral, along with a photo of Jack Sr. himself lying peacefully in an open casket, arms crossed on his chest.
Oh, hush. I'm sure you're tired from the day. I know I sure am.
Yeah, kind of a long day for all of us here.
I'll let you go now. Get a good night's sleep, honey. Can't wait to see you all tomorrow.
Me neither. Let me know if you'd like us to bring you anything.
Just your smiling faces. Night, honey bun. Sweet dreams.
You too, Mom. Night.
Night, night.
At this point, the camera, which still has not cut, turns away from the photo album and focuses in on Gertie for the first time. Her kind face goes along with her pleasant and chipper voice and manner of speaking. But Jack Sr.'s still rotting skeleton is propped up beside her on the tattered old love seat from their first apartment, dressed in full funeral attire, grinning toothily. Gertie leans in, plants a kiss on his booty cheek, then rests her head on his shoulder and closes her eyes, looking perfectly comfortable. The end.
Planting Daddy, written by John C. Wall. An acerbic, impulsive gay man accosts religious bigots, family secrets, and his own personal demons when he returns to Kentucky for his father's funeral. Marshy leads Johnny down a wide, plushly carpeted hallway of a domed megachurch the size of a small shopping mall. Johnny does a slow double take as they pass a large oil portrait of a very white, blonde, blue-eyed Jesus.
Sunday school classrooms are off in the East Wing. Over there is the daycare center.
What did it cost to build this monstrosity?
Around 20 million.
Seriously? For 20 mil, you could have built a house for every homeless person in the county.
Why would we do that? We're meeting Reverend Skippy in the coffee shop.
There's a coffee shop.
On weekends, we've got a barista who can do anything a Starbucks can.
Is there at least a food pantry?
There's a kitchen back at the coffee shop.
No, I mean like a cooperative, where poor people can get groceries if they need.
We still make up baskets for the poor on Christmas and Thanksgiving. You liberals think we ought to be giving everybody handouts every day of the week. We're Christians, not communists. Jesus said the poor are always with us.
He didn't mean for you to use that as an excuse.
Are you going to keep a civil tongue while we talk to the Reverend? If you're not, I'll take you home right now.
Johnny mimes zipping his lips. Interior, Valley Creek Baptist Church, coffee shop, day. Reverend Skippy stands up as Johnny and Marshy enter. Reverend Skippy looks like he just stepped out of a gentleman's quarterly magazine.
Margaret, bless your heart, how are you holding up?
I've had better days, Pastor.
I was just going over your daddy's eulogy. You must be Margaret's brother, Johnny.
Reverend Swagger.
Just call me Brother Skippy, everyone does. I asked Margaret to bring you with her today. I've been talking to some of the older members that knew your father, getting their fond remembrances before the services on Thursday. I wanted to hear what you might add.
Johnny and Marshy sit down with Skippy.
And any fun little anecdotes about the Reverend, things that reveal his human side. Johnny?
Human? Funny?
I know how difficult this can be in your hour of grief, but just any sweet, fond memory, something personal.
I got it. Marshy.
Oh, you? Daddy did fun things all the time.
Like what?
Like the time I was going to my senior prom. That was the first time any boy ever asked me out. I was shaking like a leaf. Mm-hmm. I told Daddy I can't go to the prom. I don't have a thing to wear. Mm-hmm. Then Daddy ripped all the clothes out of my closet and threw them on the trash pile in the backyard and said, "There, now you really don't have anything to wear."
And you thought that was funny?
Well, I do now.
Well, if these are the jokes, tell Skippy about the time he dropped me off at the orphanage all day.
Teaching you a life lesson, was he?
I was 5, and I loved the place. I had playmates, the grown-ups were nice to me. I didn't want to leave. Daddy didn't get pissed off till he came back to get me and I didn't want to go home. That's when he beat the tar out of me. He made me cry so hard, Skippy, I'd get hiccups and I couldn't stop. And then he would threaten to smack me again if I didn't stop sniveling. That was funny, right, Marshy?
Daddy was strict sometimes, but only because he wanted us both to grow up to be good Christians.
You want more stories like that? I got 20 million of them. Ask me what happened when I accidentally scratched his new car and tried to buff it out before he got home. Spoiler alert, Skippy. Most of these stories have the same punchline. They all end up with me getting the tar beat out of me.
This doesn't sound like the man I've been hearing about. All his flock remember him as such a caring, gentle soul.
Oh, he was. Around everybody but us. He was also a short-tempered bully who beat his kids.
I sense you're finding it hard to forgive your father.
Can we just go home now?
May I ask a personal question, Johnny? Does Jesus live in your heart?
He used to. He used to live in my heart.
What happened?
I evicted the cunt, and he's not getting his damage deposit back.
Johnny!
I stopped by Stevie Jane's to get some flowers for the layout. He told me you all voted him out of this Walmart a discount salvation. Is that true? Is it?
Well now, Johnny, we are a Southern Baptist community. The church is for everyone, but we can't be seen condoning sinful behavior. The Apostle Paul clearly states
That a woman should not cut her hair nor speak aloud in church, but Marcia goes to the beauty parlor and teaches her little Sunday
Now,
school
Johnny,
classes.
that's hardly fair. Some Bible verses
Get cherry-picked, and some don't. Unlike most of your congregation, I've actually read the damn thing. What about racism?
How? Now, hold on. The Southern Baptist Church is now a fully integrated church.
Yeah, this week. What about next week? What about the last 150
I'm
years?
not going to argue with you. I acknowledge that theology have shifted with community standards. It would be insane not to.
Shared pathology does not make people sane. That's wrong.
From what?
Forget it. They won't teach from in divinity school.
You stop that smart mouthing right now. That's just your education talking.
What else do you do with an education unit?
Johnny, it's obvious you are an intelligent and insightful person. When I've got more time, I would love to seriously discuss theology.
Oh, just shove it. Shove it up your condescending, self-righteous, sexist, racist, homophobic, narrow little designer-labeled ass you jumped up, weasel-slick grifter. I can't breathe any more of this holier-than-thou air. I will be outside waiting by the car.
John each week to care for her brother Cody. When her brother makes a decision that leaves her utterly alone, she ventures into the chaos and swirl of the French Quarter of New Orleans. Exterior, Frenchman Street, the Spotted Cat Music Club, later. Emma stands holding herself under the neon red open sign of the Spotted Cat Music Club. The intimate Faubourg Marketing District Jazz Club is packed like a cattle car. My Josephine's leaking out of every crack and seam into the street from the wonderful magic old bar. Couples stand listening, drinks in hand. They dance as they travel up and down, Frenchmen around and past Emma as the music slips into the night air. A tall, lanky, oddly handsome young man is smoking. Ian, 24. Southern, solid, but somehow breakable. His back against the front wall of the bar, facing Emma. He locks eyes with Emma. Inhales. She holds his gaze. He exhales.
You want to come in?
I'm good.
I'll work here. I can get you in for free.
Emma doesn't answer.
You look cold.
I'm fine.
He takes a drag. They silently exchange. He exhales.
Suit yourself.
He flicks his cigarette into the street, tips his baseball cap at Emma, then pushes his way back inside the Spotted Cat. Exterior, the Spotted Cat Music Club, later. Time has passed. The music and traffic on Frenchman has slowed a bit. Summertime snakes itself erotically into the muggy night sky. Emma stands, almost asleep on her feet like a horse. She holds herself and sways slightly, eyes closed, stuck. Ian steps out from the club again, pulling on a jacket. He eyes Emma as he fishes his pack of cigarettes out of his pocket.
You homeless?
No.
I thought you looked pretty good for a bag lady.
He lights up.
You want one?
Emma shakes her head no.
Don't smoke.
No.
You mind?
Emma shakes her head again, no.
You live around here?
Emma doesn't answer.
You talk?
Emma smiles.
I'm about to get off. Can I walk you home?
I'm not going home.
You want to get some food then?
The current pushes her off the rocks again.
Yeah.
He takes another drag, exhales, and uses the bottom of his boot, then puts the remaining half of the cigarette under his cap and behind his ear. He ducks back inside the bar, the music sliding from Summertime to Somebody Else Is Taking My Place. Interior, Bourbon Street, Clover Grill, later. Emma and Ian sitting across from each other in an old French Quarter 24-hour diner. Ian's taking out a pile of food in front of him in sharp bites. Emma sips her black coffee, reaches for a basket of fries. She bites the tip off one and then sets it back down. A little tentative, giving her a mutinous stomach.
I was young.
So you're a fucking Yankee?
I've lived here most of my life.
But you weren't born.
My brother was, I was not.
Your brother talked like you?
My brother talks like he crawled out of a fucking swamp.
I like that.
I bet you do.
What does that mean?
She doesn't answer. She sticks a fry in her mouth. Ian smiles, takes a huge bite out of his burger.
Where were you born?
Alabama.
You're not from here.
More from here than you.
Emma laughs.
You got brother and sisters?
2 sisters.
Older or younger?
Older.
So you're the baby.
Yeah.
Ian takes another bite.
You got a boyfriend?
Would I be sitting here if I did?
I don't know. Girls are weird.
Fuck you!
You might be trying to piss him off.
With you?
Yeah. I'm deeply threatened.
I bet.
Emma, sipping her coffee, warming to this guy.
You don't know.
I don't.
You don't know what I get up to.
She shakes her head, smiling, staring out onto Bourbon Street. Exterior, St. Anne Street, later. Ian and Emma walking down a now familiar patch of St. Anne.
Why Florida?
He loves the ocean.
We got ocean here.
Not that ocean.
Your brother move a lot?
Emma, staring ahead, doesn't answer.
What would you do in Florida?
Same thing I do here.
The homeless comedian of St. Anne Street.
You like jokes?
You know I do.
Do I know you?
What do you call 1,000 blind lesbians in a tuna factory?
The homeless man cracks a smile as wide as a river.
How do you make Martha Stewart scream twice in an hour?
How?
You fuck her in the ass and then wipe your dick on her curtains. You smoke?
I do.
I'm 98 away from heaven.
Ian takes out his whole pack from his jacket pocket, opens it, takes out one to keep for himself, tucks it behind his ear, and then hands the rest of the pack to the homeless man.
Well, there's 98, 96, and 97.
The homeless man puts one in his mouth.
Thank you, young sir. You got a light?
Ian pulls out his lighter, bending to light him up.
Good night.
Good night and good luck.
End.
The Errant Signal, written by Nick Fiore. A 911 operator struggles to pinpoint the origin of an otherworldly distress call. Interior, 911 call center, day. Kim, 24, sits at a desk with her headset on. In front of her, 2 monitors and a cup of coffee. Other operators are seated about the space, taking calls or waiting. Kim is waiting. Soon a number appears and she answers.
911, what is your emergency?
A woman's voice, June, 30s, is on the other end.
Please come quickly.
My sister, someone broke into the house.
Kim sits up in her chair.
Ma'am, please try to remain calm. I have some information in front of me. Is this the Carrier residence?
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Is this the Carrier residence?
Yes.
On Baker Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm forwarding your information to authorities. You mentioned your sister. Is she okay?
No.
Can you tell me what's going on?
She's been out.
Cut?
She's been cut. Someone broke into the house. I found the door open and she was just on the floor.
Is the attacker still in the house?
No, I think they're gone.
All right, we have paramedics coming your way. Just hold tight, okay? Are you with your sister now?
I'm here.
A pained gasp from the other end. Kim flinches and draws the headset away from her ear for a moment, then repositions it.
Tell me about the wound.
It looks deep. It's all across.
Where?
There's blood everywhere. Oh my God.
Where is the wound?
Her stomach.
Kim processes this.
Okay, we're going to want to control the bleeding. Is there anything nearby you can use? A towel, clothes? Ma'am?
I could find something. Hold on.
Ma'am, I'm going to want you to stay on the line with me, ma'am. Do not put the phone down.
Nothing. The sound of far-off cabinet doors and other commotion. Kim closes her eyes and adjusts her headset.
Son of a bitch.
She waits. Strained breathing nearby. Kim listens in. Suddenly a weak voice takes the phone.
I think we're dying.
Kim is frozen.
Ma'am? Ma'am?
Rapid footsteps. A moment, then
She's passed out.
Kim leans into the microphone.
I need you to stop the bleeding before the paramedics arrive. I need you to do this, okay? I want you to cover the wound and put pressure on it.
Cover it.
Cover the wound and press.
I don't want to do this.
Cover the wound.
Where's the ambulance?
Cover the wound and press, ma'am. I need you to do this now.
Will it hurt the baby?
Kim goes silent. Her mouth moves, but for a moment, no words come out.
Ma'am, is your sister pregnant?
Yes.
Kim stares ahead of her.
Everything is going to be okay, all right? Place the towel across her stomach and apply pressure on the wound.
Okay.
Are you doing it?
Yes.
Kim breathes a sigh of relief.
That's good. You're doing a good job.
Sophie. Sophie.
Ma'am, what's happening?
I'm trying to get her to wake up.
Ma'am, please, that's not necessary. Just try to restrict the blood loss until the ambulance arrives. Just sit tight.
When are you coming?
Kim looks between her monitors. Her calm exterior begins to crack.
We're having some trouble
She goes back and forth between the monitors.
with the location.
Kim leans into the headset.
Is the address I have correct? 2846 Baker Street?
Yes?
Kim glares helplessly at the screen. A thought occurs to her.
You said your sister's name is Sophie?
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, there is no Sophie or Sophia listed in the residence. Is this not your house?
It's her boyfriend's house. She called me.
Can
to
I
say
speak
goodbye.
with him?
Kim is silent again.
Can I speak with him again? Is he here?
No, he's never here.
Is there someone there I can speak?
I'm here.
Ma'am, what is your name?
June.
Ma'am, what is your full name?
June Underland.
Kim is suddenly frozen at the name. The monitors blink lifelessly in front of her. The woman's voice, Sophie, begins breathing rapidly across the line.
When are you coming?
Kim is motionless, regaining her voice.
When are you coming?
The breathing is rasping now, softer, worse. Kim works her way through the words.
Ma'am, we need the correct address.
We're here. We are here.
Ma'am.
We're here. She's here. She's here.
Kim becomes deathly quiet. Her voice is a whisper.
Ma'am, there are no paramedics. There are paramedics standing in that house. No one is there.
Silence. Kim hears the rasping from Sophie on the floor. She listens for a horrible moment.
Mom?
A moment. The line disconnects. Kim sits in her chair in silence. Her coffee is cold. The workplace buzzes with other voices on calls. Kim removes her headset. She holds her head and inhales deeply, but seems to regain her composure. She presses a button on her computer, then pushes her chair out and stands up. Kim walks past other coworkers at their desks. Finally, she turns and stops at a larger cubicle. Kim stands, lonely, at the entrance. Calvin, 60s, her boss, sits at a computer. He turns to Kim.
Kim?
Hi, Calvin. Sorry to bother you.
That's okay.
I just had a question.
She thinks for a long moment.
Does the call center ever pick up errant signals, like static or radio or old voices?
That doesn't make sense.
I know, it's just, I had a weird call.
Kim looks up. Her face is calmer. We now see her name tag says Underland.
That's it.
There's a silence between them. Calvin thinks to himself the way old men think about the universe. After a moment, he picks up the old handset telephone from its base on his desk and punches in numbers as he recalls them. He holds the phone to his ear and looks at Kim. The number dials. After a moment, Kim's phone rings gently in her pocket. Surprised, she pulls it out and looks at it. She looks at Calvin, who hangs up but still holds the phone. A brief silence.
I don't really know how that works.
Kim smiles slightly. Calvin puts the phone away.
These are old lines, Kim.
Calvin shifts nervously.
If you want, you can play back the call, see if you really heard what you thought you heard.
Kim glances at her feet. Calvin looks at her expectantly. The chatter of the call center hums about them.
Do you want to take your break?
Kim shakes her head.
Okay.
Interior 911 call center later. Kim sits at a small desk with her headset around her neck. She's not looking at the monitors. Kim's phone. Resting in her hands under the desk, She swipes through old photos. A photo of her mother, Sophie, grainy and not of this decade. Another photo, the same woman, a little older. She smiles in the picture, brown curly hair and clothes from the 80s. Kim swipes. A photo of Sophie wearing a blue dress and holding her hand on her stomach, a few months pregnant. She's in her 30s. Kim stares at the photo gently, like a bit of magic in her hands. She runs her thumb over the screen and turns her phone sideways, observing its thinness, almost wondering where all that information is stored. Without glancing up, she reaches and presses a button on the monitor. Kim puts on her headset. She listens to the call. Cut to black. The audio plays back. It's static. Superimposed title, The Errant Signal. The end.
Okay, so if any of the writers are here, if they could just come on up. All right, so if we could just quickly just have each of the writers introduce themselves and tell us which one was their script. Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do that. How's that? So yeah, everybody just introduce themselves. Tell us which one's yours.
Hi, my name is Soledad Lala, and my script was Zodiac, The Chosen.
I'm Saul Barenbaum, I wrote Just the Wind.
I'm Chris Phillips, I wrote Pieces or a West Hollywood Club Called Rage.
Genevieve Douglas, Fakenham Hall.
Robert Languedoc, I wrote Steam.
Kimberly Kalaya, I wrote The Lesson.
John C. Wall, I wrote Planting Daddy.
George Georgiadis, I wrote February.
Anyone have any questions for any of our writers? Any questions? Okay, I'm going to ask one question then. You don't just tell us what your plans are with the script. Are you planning to produce it, or are you trying to sell it, or are you... Go ahead.
I really like my concept, and I am actively trying to pitch it to studios, see who wants to fund this high-budget movie.
Woo!
I'm looking to produce, or sell, and potentially direct. Anyone is interested in getting into a part of ensemble family drama road comedy slasher film, please talk to me after this. Love to hear from you.
This past year I filmed a proof of concept short film for Pieces. That's basically the opening interrogation scene that the sequence just ended right before that was read tonight, and my managers are pitching it right now at a production company, so looking forward to seeing what they do.
I'm just looking for representation for this. I wrote one of the roles for Maggie Smith, who's my godmother and my aunt. And to keep peace in the family, nobody says anything unless it goes through an agent. So that's where it is.
I'd just like to I'm, since I was about 4 years old, I was a very humanologist. And instead of letting you look that up in Google, it's a lover of trains.
The Lesson is a short film, and I'm hoping to pitch it to a studio interested in making a small art piece.
I'm a young beginner. I just retired, and so I've cranked out 4 screenplays in the last 2 years. And I'm having a lot of fun and seeking representation.
First, thank you to all the actors for doing all this. That was great. February we're gonna shoot in January, so really excited.
One last question, what inspired each of your stories? Inspiration.
Growing up, I just really love zodiac signs, so I started out writing a fan fiction, but then decided I wanted to turn it into something much bigger.
Always loved horror films, and there's a lot of sadness and desolation in western Pennsylvania that I felt even growing up in eastern Pennsylvania, so that was that.
I'll just say Bryan Singer, Harvey Weinstein, and gay West Hollywood, leave it.
I got fascinated by the history of Germany's plans to attack France and Russia simultaneously as early as 1908. So that's the part of the concept.
I was interested in the demise of steam in this country, which happened in the late 50s, early 60s. I also have 2 boys, my wife and I have 2 boys, and I've come to realize that a love for trains is genetically coded.
I wanted to write a film that could spark a conversation about guns among people who have absolutely polar opposite opinions about guns.
Autobiographical events. I buried my father like 30 years ago, but I still felt like a fish out of water going back to Kentucky, and I wanted to bring in some of the polemics of the current political dialogue, the rift that's happening in this country now between liberals and conservatives, and I'm scared to get down there now.
I think what inspired me most to write my film, aside from it being my coming out story, was just how film in general has spoken to me and has inspired me, and to be able to express myself in hopes of reaching just one other person who needs inspiration. I think that's just what inspires me to write in general, aside from this.
Yes. What did you all get from hearing your words read by the actors?
Bit of clarity for editing, and just to see how dialogue works and what I need to change or what worked.
I really loved it, you guys were all great. Thank you.
I think it's always cool to hear different actors read the same parts. You just hear totally different spins every time, so thank you.
My sense of the timing was very different from how it seemed to me to be on the page. Thank you.
I think I spoke to some of the other writers, and they were all wondering what scenes would be read. Most of them were first scene, others were not. So I spent most of my time wondering what scene would be.
It's just wonderful to hear different voices and things that have been in your head for a long time. It's great to get professionals in there.
Well, back in the 90s, I did a couple dozen off-Broadway productions, so having more bodies on stage than there are in the audience is nothing new to me. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your awesome script.
I haven't had a table read for this yet. I don't even have the cast. So it was nice to hear the dialogue by somebody's voice other than mine. So that's cool.
Okay, All right, well, thank you again to our cast, Daniela, Thome, Timothy J. Cox, Sierra, Naomi, Johnny Weber, Sara, Kiefer, Stephen Peacock, Jacoby, Zan Russell, Maxwell, Zener, and congratulations to our screenwriters. Thank you all.